আমার নাম কল্পনা আক্তার। আমি নির্বাহী পরিচালক বাংলাদেশ সেন্টার ফর ওয়ার্কার সলিডারিটি। এটা একটা লেবার এডুকেটর এনজিও। আমরা ইউনিয়নের সঙ্গে ক্লোজলি কাজ করি। আর আমি নিজেও গার্মেন্টসে কাজ করেছি। আমি যখন কাজ করেছি তখন কাজ শুরু করেছি তখন আমার বয়স 12 ছিল। আমার সঙ্গে আছে সুমি আবেদিন। উনি তাজরিন ফ্যাশনসের আগুন থেকে বেঁচে যাওয়া একজন আহত শ্রমিক। তো আমরা দুজনই এখন অস্ট্রেলিয়াতে আছি। আমরা মেলবোর্ন এবং সিডনিতে বিভিন্ন মানুষদের সঙ্গে কথা বলছি যারা কনজিউমার, তাদের সঙ্গেও, পাশাপাশি কোম্পানি যারা আমাদের দেশ থেকে কাপড় কিনে, যেসব বায়াররা, তাদের সঙ্গে ইউনিয়নের সঙ্গে মূলত আমাদেরকে অক্সফাম এখানে দাওয়াত করে নিয়ে এসছে কথা বলার জন্য।
Oxfam also liaised with a lot of Australians who were really shocked by the Rana Plaza collapse, and we launched a campaign which was mostly a digital campaign as well as speaking in the media, and we asked people to go onto companies' Facebook pages like Kmart and Target and Cotton On Group, and many of you did, and those companies really listened. When you wrote on their wall and said, please sign on to better fire and building safety in Bangladesh, sign the accord, companies were actually telling us we're really feeling the social media pressure, and subsequently 8 Australian companies have signed the accord. Globally, more than 150 companies have now signed on to the Bangladesh Fire and Building Safety Accord. And we're really pleased that 8 Australian companies have signed on. But with the anniversary of the Rana Plaza collapse just over a week away, there are 2 companies that still haven't signed on in Australia. They are the Just Group, who owns Just Jeans, JJ's, Peter Alexander and Portman's, and also a company called Best and Less that has over 200 stores in Australia. So we don't understand why it's been almost a year and these companies still haven't signed on for improved conditions. But tonight, Kalpona and Shumi will explain to you just how important this accord is and how we can really support better conditions in Bangladesh. Without further ado, I'd love to bring to the stage Shumi Abedin and Kalpona Akhtar.
Hi, good evening everyone. We need to sit and talk because Shumi has leg injuries, so she cannot stand for a long time. I apologize for that. Thanks so much again for coming in this evening, and I hope you're going to listen to us because we have something to say. So Shumi will talk first, and I'll translate for her, as well as I'm going to connect all of you with some issues. Okay, Shumi.
আমার নাম সুমি আবেদিন। আমার বয়স 20 বছর। আমি যখন কারখানায় চাকরি দিছি তখন আমার বয়স ছিল 13। আমি অনেকগুলো ফ্যাক্টরিতে চাকরি করছি।
My name is Shumi Abedin. I'm 20 years old. When I started working, I was 13 years old. I worked a couple of factories.
আমি তাজরিনে চাকরি করছি 2 বছর। আমাদের কারখানার কর্ম পরিবেশ খুবই খারাপ ছিল।
I worked at Tazreen for 2 years, and the working condition at Tazreen was poor.
আমাদের কারখানায় টার্গেট দিত, যদি টার্গেট না হইতো আমাদের ছুটির পর ফাওড়াই খেয়ে দিত, আমাদের গালাগালি করতো, মারধর করতো। তারপরে আমরা যে রাস্তা দিয়ে চলাফেরা করতাম এই রাস্তা সবসময় আটকানো থাকতো, ওই দিক দিয়ে ফেব্রিক্স বইরে রাখতো। আমরা লাইন চিফ সুপারভাইজারদের বললে তারা বলতো যে কোনো দুর্ঘটনা ঘটলে ওটা আমরা দেখবো।
Okay, there was a production quota for us. If we cannot hit those production quota, we have been verbally and physically abused by our management, And it's often they would lock the doors and they would block all the aisles and stair walls as well as the downstairs by the fabrics and yarn. Whenever we raise this issue to our management that any accident can happen anytime, and they said there would be no accident and nothing would be happening.
24 নভেম্বর 2012 সালে আমাদের তাজরিনে আগুন লাগছে ওই সময় আমি ওই জায়গায় কাজ করতাম
On November 24, 2012, there was a fire at my factory at Tazreen Fashion, and I was working there inside that building.
আমরা সকাল 8টা বাজে কাজে গেছি 1টা থেকে 2টা পর্যন্ত আমাদের লাঞ্চ টাইম দিয়েছে 2টা থেকে আমরা 6:30 পর্যন্ত কাজ করছি
Like other day, I went to my work shift at 8 a.m. I worked up to 1, and 1 to 2, that was my lunch break, and I came back and I was continuously working up to 6:30.
কাজ করার পরে আমাদের এক ওয়ার্কার বলছে যে আগুন লাগছে তখন আমরা নামতে গেছি আমাদের পিএম সুপারভাইজার লাইন শিফট তারা গালাগালি করছে যে কোনো আগুন লাগে নাই তোমরা কাজ করো পরে আমরা ভয়ের খাতিরে সবাই মেশিনে বসছি
Around 6:30, one of my co-worker he screamed that there is a fire in the factory, and we tried to escape. As we got panic and we tried to escape, but our middle managers, production manager, they started yelling on us and says that there is no fire. Go back to your machine and keep doing your work.
পরে আমরা মেশিনে বসে কাজ করতে লইছি পরে 5 মিনিটের মতো কাজ করছি পরে সব ওয়ার্কারের নাকে যখন ধুমার গন্ধ গেছে তখন আমরা সবাই নামতে গেছি মেয়েদের সিঁড়িতে পরে যাই দিয়ে আমাদের গেটে তালা লাগানো
So we were working like 5 minutes after they forced us to keep our work, and after 5 minutes later we started to smell the smokes, and then we understood there is a fire. Then everyone got panic, and I, along with many, I was rushed to the stairs. So there was 2 stairs for female workers, and I rushed to the stairs to escape, and we found the doors are locked, padlocked.
পরে আমরা ছেলেদের সিঁড়িতে একলগে পরে 1500-1600 মতো ওয়ার্কার নামতে গেছি পরে দুতলা পর্যন্ত অনেকেই নামছি নামার পর অনেকের পাড়ায় নামতেছে পরে দুতলায় যাই দেখছি আমরা অনেক আগুন
So it was over 1,500 workers was working during that time at the factory, and everyone was rushed to one stair that was using by man workers, and as everyone was rushed to one stair, many of them was stampeded. And I ran to the stairs as well, and I was able to go to the up to 2nd floor where I saw there is a horrific fire in the downstairs.
পরে এলো কারেন্ট চলে গেছে ওই সময় অন্ধকারে পরে সব ওয়ার্কার উপরে উঠতে লইছে পরে মোবাইলের বাতি ধরে পরে আমি অন্ধকারে হাঁটতে পরে 3 তলা পর্যন্ত উঠছি
Meanwhile, the power gone, it is totally dark, and then I was following my co-worker because I was looking for a way to escape. So I was following my co-worker who had a cell phone light, and I was following them and was able to come at 3rd floor.
পরে 3 তলায় অনেকক্ষণ দৌড়াদৌড়ি করছি নামতে পারি নাই পরে 3 তলায় যখন আগুন দেখছি তখন আমি বলতেছি যে এই আগুনে পুইরা মরলে তো আমি কয়লা হয়ে যাবো পরে সেজন্য আমি 3 তলা থেকে লাফ দিছিলাম যে আমার আব্বা মা জানি আমার লাশটা পায়
So when I got in 3rd floor, I was running here and there to find a escape, way to escape from the factory, and I did not find anything. And after I don't know how long later, I saw one of my co-worker removing. Okay, so it was north side of the building. I saw there is a adjust fan ventilation fan hole, and people are jumping from there, and I saw that there is a fire behind of me, and I decided that if I stay here I would be burned to ash, and my parents will not find even my body. Then I decided to jump, at least my parents can find my body in outside. Then I jumped from 3rd floor.
পরে একদম নিচে পড়ছি পড়ার পর আমার জ্ঞান ছিল না পরে সবাই দেখছি অনেকেই চিল্লাচিল্লি করতেছে অনেকক্ষণ পর আমার জ্ঞান আসছে পরে আমি হাঁটতে লেগেছি হাঁটার অবস্থায় দেখি আমার ডাইন পা আর বাম হাত ভাঙছে কপালের এই দিক দিয়ে ছুঁলে গেছে
So I didn't thought that I was alive. After I don't know how long later, I was hearing people screaming, and I got my conscious, and I tried to stand up and leave that area. And when I was trying to stand up and walk, I found that my right leg is broken, my left hand is broken, and there is a scratch in my forehead.
পরে আমাদের এক সহকর্মী ছিল ওই 2-3 মাস আগে চাকরি ছেড়ে গেছে পরে ওই ছেলেটার সাথে দেখা হইছে আমার পরে আমি তারে বলছি যে আমার আব্বা মার কাছে একটু লইলাম পরে আমার আব্বা মার কাছে বাসা বন্ধ নিয়ে গেছে
So then I was looking for help, and luckily I found one of my co-worker who left the job like 3 months prior to this fire, and I was requested him to take me to my home, and he helped me, and he took me to my parents at my home.
পরে মাসের ছিল 24 তারিখ ছিল, পরে আমার আব্বা আমার কাছে টাকা ছিল না, একজনের কাছ থেকে টাকা লোন করে নিয়ে যায়, পরে নারী শিশুতে নিয়ে হাত পা এক্সরে করছে, করার পর দেখছি আমার হাত পা ভাঙছে, পরে আমার ওই জায়গা থেকে পঙ্গু হাসপাতালে পাঠিয়ে দিছে।
So as it was end of the month, my parents hadn't had any money that they can afford me to the hospital. Then they started looking for money, and they had borrowed some money from the neighbors, and then they took me to the nearest hospital, which called Women's and Children's Hospital. And that hospital gave me the primary medication, and they did x-ray and found that my leg has broken and hand is broken, and they transferred me to the orthopedic hospital, where I was admitted for 1.5 months.
পঙ্গু হাসপাতালে 1 মাস 15 দিন আমার হাত পা ব্যান্ডেজ ছিল। তারপর আমি বাসায় আসছি, আসার পর বিজেপি থেকে নাকি কোন ভাইয়েরা আমাদের 1 লাখ করে টাকা দিয়েছেন, আর বেতন পাইছিলাম 14,000 টাকা, এই টাকাই আমি পাইছি, তাই এই টাকা দিয়ে আমার চিকিৎসা করাই শেষ হয়েছে।
When I was in the orthopedic hospital, my hand and leg was had a plaster for a month and 15 days, and during that time I have received. Later I came back home, and later I have received 100,000 taka, which is approximately $1,200 from BGMEA, and I hear that money has given by some sourcing company who was sourcing from my factory, and I have to spend that money for my medical cost.
আসলে আমি এই জায়গায় আসছি যে আমাদের কারখানা থেকে যে সব বাইরেরা কাজ কিনে বাংলাদেশের, তাদের লগে কথা বলতে আসছি যে তারা আমাদের কারখানার কর্মপরিবেশ জানি ভালো করে দেয়, যে এরকম তাজরিনের মতো রানা প্লাজার মতো কোনো গার্মেন্টসে জানি দুর্ঘটনা না ঘটে।
Basically, I came here to tell all those sourcing company who source from my country and those factories, to tell them to make this workplace safer, because we really don't want it to see any more Tazreen disaster or Rana Plaza collapse. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shumi, for sharing your story with us today. Kalpona, I wanted to ask you, we're showing a picture at the moment where you're in the Tazreen factory. You told me earlier this week that you actually rushed to the factory when you heard that it was on fire.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you found when you went to the factory, and why we see that you went inside the factory as well?
Yeah. Can you back to the previous picture, please?
Yeah, of course.
So, when I hear about there's a fire in the building, I have been informed by my co-workers that who work in that industrial zone. So he told me there is a fire in a building, and it's a horrific fire, I should go. And I reached there within an hour. And later when I spoke to Shumi in the following day, and many other her co-workers, I feel that I reached that area when Shumi already was inside the building and looking for a way to escape. But along with many people, I was there with 2 helpless hands. So this is a building which is 9-story building. It was under construction. You know, luckily this bamboo scaffolding helped workers to escape from that building. The workers, they used this bamboo scaffolding from 9th floor to 2nd floor. The female workers, they gone up to the 9th floor to escape from the factory using that. If they would not have this bamboo scaffolding, the death toll can be over 500 or more, truly. So it was really, horrific fire that I experienced in that night. I was there up to 2:30 a.m. The fire was not even controlled in that time. And then I requested my co-workers to stay there, and I left and I came back home. My mom was still awake and she was waiting for me. When I got home, she was like, very sad sound. She was saying, 9 died. And I just respond to her that, Mom, 9 is nothing. because the fire I experienced, it was horrific. It could be more. So then I started working with my co-workers, the Western countries, to letting them know who were the sourcing company, because I got some information, and sharing them this horrific fire incident. And then around 5:15, my colleague called me again and said, "You should come. It is no 19. It is over 100." And I ran to the building again, the factory again, and then I experienced it's over 100 bodies that is, bringing out from the factory, and all of them, almost all of them, burned to ash. And the reason it has happened, because the doors was locked. Among these 112, 69 bodies has been found on the third floor, the production floor, where Shumi jumped. And all those bodies have been found in front of the locked door. Later, the the rescue people, rescue team, fire brigades, they broke the padlock, and they rescued all those bodies, which is burned to ash. And then around 10 or something, still there was a flame in the second floor, but I couldn't stop myself to go inside the building, because I need to know who are the sourcing company was sourcing from this factory. If I late, then they will clean up, and nobody will, neither the factory owner or nor this sourcing company, the fashion brands, will voluntarily come and step forward, say, "Oh, I was in Tazreen, I wanted to take responsibility." None of them will do that. So then I went inside and photographed all those brand who are sourcing from. This is one of the brand, that belong. It's called Faded Glory, that belong to Walmart. Until Walmart see these pictures, they was continuously denying that they were in the factory. We cut off the logo. We send the product photograph that, yeah, you were sourcing from this factory. Continuously they were denying. Then I took risk to send this picture where I was holding the clothes inside that building. And then they said, "Yes, we were there, but it wasn't our direct sourcing factory. It is somebody given subcontract," which was totally lie. Later, we got all the documents from that factory that the Walmart even audited that factory and given a orange color, which just means this factory is not safe, but still they were sourcing rather than correct all those, the problem they found in that factory. So those who think that, all these foreign buyers, they sit in Australia or US or Europe, they do not know this ground condition, what's really going on there. That is why maybe these workers are depriving. Please wake up from your dream. They know everything. They know every single thing of these violations that workers are facing. They know everything that these doors are locked. They know these workers are making poverty wages, which is $68 per month. They know everything. So and then what happened at Rana? Considering this Tazreen, the Tazreen fire, we were considering that this is a devastating factory fire or factory accident we ever had. We were campaigning in Europe and US to get responsible all those sourcing companies, like Walmart, Shenzhen, US Marine, and also the C&A, Key, Walt Disney, those were sourcing from Shumi's factory, to make them all responsible, pay full and fair compensation, also sign on the Bangladeshi Fire and Building Safety Accord. Shumi and me, we was in the US. It was the evening in Seattle. Throughout the day, we did a lot of protests in front of Walmart store, and spoke to the university student, and worked with the, all the union group we have met there, asking all of them to help us put more pressure onto these companies to sign on this accord. And just before we go to bed, I saw in one line, the news in this news scroll, it says, "A building collapsed." And then I, look into the area. What is the area called? It says Sabar. And when it says Sabar, I totally understand it is not a building, it's a factory. Then I just picked the phone. I just told Shumi and my other colleague, Liana, from the organization called International Labor Rights Forum, that guys, there is a building collapse and I doubt it's a factory. I need to call my colleagues. And then I called my colleagues, and who confirmed me, a 9-story building has collapsed with over 4,000 workers in a suburb industrial area. All of them, they are trapped under that death trap building. And they started, helping those families, workers, as much as they can. In the same time, they started photograph. This is the photographs that my colleague has taken in the early morning when this factory collapsed, as well as they started trying to get all those documents, who are the sourcing company. The reason is, if we don't get that, we cannot hold responsible those company again. And we found over 30 fashion brand and retailers from Europe and US, Canada, who were sourcing from Rana Plaza. A few of them, 5 or 6 of them, who says, yes, we were sourcing, but until we put pressure onto them, they haven't agreed to pay compensation. These families is still waiting for this compensation. And just, all those brands who are sourcing from the Rana and their native country in the Europe, majority of them sign on this accord, but all the American and Canadian companies, except the Joe Fresh logo, except them, nobody signed this accord yet. Again, they really don't care about these human lives. What they care about, their profit spreadsheet. That they really wanted to, see. Let's make another connection. As Daisy mentioned that I worked in the factory. Yes, I started work in the factory when I was 12 years old. I had to go to the factory because my father got sick and he was the primary earner in family. Then me and my 10 years old brother, 2 of us, we went to factory to bring food in the table for 7. That was in 1990. How was the working condition during those days? No doubt. It was totally a sweatshop factory. My working shift was 16 hours every day, 7 days in a week, 30 days in a month. I had to work 23 days in a row and sleeping 2 or 3 hours in the production floor. And then how much I was making working that long shifting hours. I was making only $6 per month working over 450 hours work. Verbal, physical, and sometimes sexual abuses was common. No safe drinking water. If we would not hit the production quota, we had to go through the same way that Shumi been in her factory. There was a fire in my factory. The fire started in 5th floor and we have been locked up in the 3rd floor by saying that fire will not come there. And after crying and screaming, they opened the door to escape from the factory, but when we were rushed to escape, many of my co-workers has been stampeded. The reason was it was only one stair, there was very narrow, and half of that was blocked by the merchandise or boxes. Again, it was in 1990. 2 decades later, we're seeing same in the Shumi's factory, in other manufacturing factory in Bangladesh. And let's connect with that. What are the changes we have today in compared to my working time and today? It is still unsafe workplace, exist. Majority of this factory has been settled in the residential building when the industry started, because when retailers was rushed to Bangladesh, the country wasn't ready with all the infrastructures. So they broke down the wall of living room, bedroom, and kitchen, and it's become a production floor. Still many factories situated in those buildings. No doubt, those are the death trap buildings. One statistic that has given by BGMEA, where they say is that 50% of these factories still exist in a residential building. 30% of them are in a sharing building. 20% of this factory in a purposeful made building. Remember, Tazreen and Rana Plaza, these two was purposeful made building. So I would say the three areas there is no improvement has happened during my working time and today. The area number 1, safe working place. Area number 2, the wages. The workers, the $68 they make today, I would consider is a poor wage than my time. My time means that poor than that $6 I was making. The reason I'm saying, because cost of living is too high today. When I was in factory, I may pay like $3 or $4 for my house rent. Today, workers pay $25 for house rent for a 10 feet by 20 feet, a 12 feet room. And that is only for housing. And if it is, includes the utilities, it might be crossed $30 or so. Then what left for her food? Almost all workers are malnourished, nourished. They don't get enough nutrition. They cannot buy protein that they need to. The other area, the union rights. What happened? Why I had to leave the factory? Why I'm today in here? I was working in that working condition. The reason was I didn't know that how long I need to work. I didn't know that there is a law that supposed to protect me. I didn't know how much I should pay. And when I came to know the law and rights, I started organizing my co-workers and I joined with union. In the age of 15 and a half, I became a union president in my shop floor. Ooh, yeah. But a year later, later or 1.5 years later, I got fired, and later I got blacklisted. I fired and blacklisted because my factory owner, they consider I'm a troublemaker in his factory and in his residential area, factory industrial belt. What I consider that was a stupid decision they have ever taken. I could make problem in that industrial belt only, and what I'm doing today. Okay, I'm an international troublemaker now, and I love to do that. Okay, so the world doesn't end there. When I say that, a lot of challenges. Now we have some advances. What are they? First one, the accord. The Daisy said several times regarding this accord. What is that? This accord it's an accord on Bangladeshi fire and building safety. And this accord not being, we are not asking these companies to sign this accord after Rana collapse, no. We started campaigning to have these companies to sign this accord after a factory fire in back 2010. One of the factory called That's It Sportswear. It is belonged to Hamim Group. It's a well-known group in Bangladesh. And it was an 11-story building where fire started in top to 3 floors. And workers was jumped from 11th story building to save their life, but they jumped to death. And after that fire, all the worker rights organizations, unions, nationally and globally, we thought that we need to make some changes because our law is not strong enough to protect these workers at the workplace. But what about these retailers who always enjoy a bigger piece of the pie and do not take any responsibilities? Let's bring them, let's hold them accountable. Then all of us, we made this accord. And we start campaigning to get them signed on since 2011. If this company would sign this accord back 2011, we would be able to save this life at Tazreen as well as in Rana. But they haven't signed. The reason they haven't signed because the accord we are calling them to sign, it is a legal binding agreement. And they don't want it to take any legal responsibilities. So the first company who signed this accord was Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein. It is from US. The second company was from Germany, Chibo. Then we were like
sitting idle and waiting to have third company to sign on the accord and go for implementation. But we did not get any until we killed these 1,138 workers at Rana. We had to kill these workers in that death trap building to get these over 150 companies to sign on this accord. Now, I think the two companies from your country, the Just Jeans and Best and Less, they are waiting to kill more people in their sourcing factories, then they will send this accord. Until that, I think they will not. Or we do have alternative. Until getting a huge pressure from you all, they will not sign. So what do you think? We should kill workers and get them sign on, or we should put them pressure and get them sign on? What are we gonna do?
Pressure.
I'm not hearing.
Pressure.
Loud, please. Pressure! Okay, say like that. Okay, we have way to do that. And why this accord is important? We consider the accord is a groundbreaking document for us, which will ensure to end death trap buildings or end death tolls in those factories in coming days. Why so and how? First time in the history, the accord has signed between the companies and the unions. That never happened. Second, the accord will have its own independent inspectors that's going to include workers during the inspection and going back to the workers with a follow-up report, what was the findings, and with a plan of corrective action, that how those buildings or factories going to do repair and renovations. Third, accord going to pay for all necessary repair and renovations, all those factories, whatever the findings comes. This is important because, the money our factory owners get, sometimes really they don't have, sometimes some of them really don't have leftover that they can do all these necessary repair and renovations. Fourth, the accord going to ensure right to refuse dangerous work at workplace. This is very important for us. Why? The day when Rana collapsed, day before, on 23rd April 2013, the workers saw a crack in the building and they walk out. They deny to work. And then around 10 a.m., the management says, okay, you go to home, but be sure that you come back at 2 p.m. We will let you know our decision. Workers come back, and they had to come back at 2 p.m. At 2 p.m., factory management says that the building is safe, it has been inspected by the engineer, and you have to come tomorrow because we are rushed to shipment. And if you don't come, then you will not get your salary because it was almost end of the month. So you will not get your salary as well as you will be fired from your job. So then in the following morning, they had to come. Many of workers, like half and half, some of them were forced to go inside, some of them is still standing on outside and waiting what co-workers do. Then the building owner, he came, he says, this building will be leased for 100 years, which haven't leased for 100 minutes after he says. And the workers was forced to go inside. They were slapped, they pushed, they were even beaten up by the factory, hired goons, the musclemen, and the building owners hired goons. Then they went inside. It was around 8:30 when they started work. They were able to work 20 minutes or so, then power gone. And as soon as power gone, within 2 or 3 minutes, the management started the alternative power, which is generator. Every floor they had these heavy generators. When they start the generator, the workers was hear that huge sound, boom, and they start seeing this building is collapsing. So if these workers would have right to refuse their dangerous work and is still getting paid or not losing their jobs, then they will not die in that day. So the accord, it ensures the workers will have right to refuse dangerous work. So it is important. And few steps ahead, it is a legal binding document. So any brand, any retailer who signed this accord and not comply with that, or not enforce that in their sourcing factory, they can be bring into the arbitration. If it is not resolved in the arbitration in Bangladesh, they can bring into the court in their native countries. Isn't this amazing? So that is why we are calling every brand and retailers and all these fashion houses who is sourcing from my country to sign on this accord and ensure stop this death toll in our factories. So this is basically what I wanted to share, and we really want your support to put pressure on these companies, 2 companies we have. And it's a lot of way to do that. Go to their Facebook, take over it, and say, sign the accord, because it is important for workers to have a safe working place. I know that many of you, after hearing these, or maybe seeing all those news articles on Rana and Tazreen, you guys might be in a dilemma that it's a sweatshop factories. The clothes, making in a dangerous place, whether we should buy or we shouldn't buy. Tell me the truth, who thought that? See, almost all of you. So my answer to all of you, please buy. Not buying it is not the solution. If you don't buy, there will be boycott. And boycott would be suicide for those workers who is working in this industry. Because we are not talking about two of us. We are not talking about Tazreen and Rana. We are talking about 4 million workers. And over 80% of them are female workers. There is no alternative industry that can adopt these workers and give a job and help them to bring food in the table. We need these jobs, but it is more than high time to tell everyone we want these jobs with dignity. And the dignity can ensure with 3 things: a decent wages, a safe working place, and a union voice. And you consumers, you have all this power to ensure these 3 things, just putting pressure onto these retailers whose clothes you are buying. Maybe some of you think that, still, I'm in a dilemma, maybe I'm not gonna buy, okay? For all of you, we cannot be naked. We have to buy clothes. If we don't buy the made in Bangladesh clothes, we might be choose to buy any other South Asian, maybe Latin American who are making these clothes. Still, as Australian people are not making these, so you need to buy some clothes that is making by any Asian company, any third world company, or third world countries people. Trust me, the working conditions are similar almost everywhere. Our factory collapsed and burned, others on way to. So the accord can be set a precedent for one country, and that can be extend to other country to make this workplace safer. So my call again, please buy, but in the same time, be a responsible consumer. Put pressure onto this brand and tell them that you really wanted to see, or you wanted to learn more about these human faces. You wanted to see that these human faces working in a human condition, not in an inhuman condition. Thank you.